पॉलिसी बाजार पर 1 करोड़ रुपए का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस केवल 450 रुपए महीने से शुरू। वाव!
Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. Ukraine's President Zelensky calls Prime Minister Modi. President Zelensky says on the phone call that I count on India's help for peace. He congratulates India on the G20 presidency. President Zelensky also says, I thanked India for humanitarian aid and their support in the UN. Videocon chairman Venugopal Dhoot is arrested. The arrest by the CBI 3 days after Chanda and Deepak Kochhar are arrested. The CBI claims a quid pro quo for bank loans when Chanda Kochhar was ICICI's managing director. The court gives 3 days custody of the three to the CBI till Wednesday. Karnataka orders masks for New Year's celebrations. There's also a 1 a.m. deadline for New Year's parties in Karnataka as part of COVID guidelines. This is India's health minister does a video conference with doctors across India. The good news is, however, that India's active COVID cases are going down. The finance minister is admitted to AIIMS for a viral infection. She is recovering well, says sources in the finance ministry, and should be discharged soon. Prime Minister Modi at the first Veer Divas. In his speech, he says that Aurangzeb wanted to change religion by the force of the sword. Delhi, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, the big chill. New lows, dense fog and a cold wave tomorrow. 2 trains are impacted. Flights so far operating as usual. In that biting cold, early morning, Rahul Gandhi pays tribute at Rajghat and various samadhis in a t-shirt and barefoot. He pays tribute to former Prime Ministers, but a row over his visit to the former Prime Minister Vajpayee's samadhi. And the US's killer winter storm. At least 38 people have been killed with power cuts, flight cancellations. The tragedy that many people found dead in their cars as rescue services finally managed to access them. And Indian markets bounce back today, gaining over 1% as investors shrug off COVID fears from China. Our lead story tonight, Ukraine's President Zelensky has called Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The reason for the call, in a release from the Ukrainian president, is, he said, to wish India a successful G20 presidency. But of course, it is an important call given the fact that India is a country which can play a useful negotiating role with Russia and Ukraine, and also, of course, currently chairing the G20 presidency. Vishnu, tell us the significance of this phone call.
Oh, it is very significant because it comes just a couple of weeks after the Ukrainian foreign minister told us, in fact, at NDTV, that there was a real expectation in Ukraine that India could play a serious part in bringing peace to Ukraine. In his conversation with Prime Minister Modi today, President Zelensky outlined 10 key points which he believes are essential. He is now talking about a peace formula. This is the first time, in fact, that they are getting very serious about this peace process. What are those points? Ensuring radiation and nuclear safety. There are concerns about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, food security, energy security, the release of all prisoners of war, the implementation of a UN charter on the restoration of territorial integrity of Ukraine, withdrawal of Russian troops, restoring justice, anti-ecocide. In other words, the environment has been damaged. They want a fixing of that, prevention of escalation, and a confirmation of the end of the war. These are the key points that Zelensky is likely to have conveyed to Prime Minister Modi. Does India have the capital to actually reach out to the Russian president and see if there can be a real peace process?
Right, and Vishnu, that's important given the fact that Russian President Putin has been saying over the last 2 days that there could possibly be an end to war, that he's open to negotiations. And remember, Prime Minister Modi also told President Putin that it's time for dialogue and diplomacy in Ukraine. So let's see if these efforts actually escalate, as of course Ukraine is getting battered currently in the freezing cold with missile strikes, power cuts and a huge energy crisis. Thanks so much, Vishnu, for that update. Well, the other big headlines tonight, the CBI today arrested the chairman of the Videocon group, Venugopal Dhoot. This comes just 3 days after the arrest of Chanda Kochhar and her husband Deepak Kochhar. The charges are of a quid pro quo and loans given to Videocon by ICICI when Chanda Kochhar was heading it.
High-profile arrests in the ICICI loan fraud. Top banker and former chief executive officer of ICICI Bank, Chanda Kochhar, her husband Deepak, and Videocon's Venugopal Dhoot were arrested by the CBI 4 years after the central agency charged the trio for alleged corruption and bank fraud. While the Kochhars were arrested on Friday, Dhoot was arrested by the agency on Monday morning after brief questioning in Mumbai. The case dates back to 2011, when Chanda Kochhar headed ICICI Bank and sanctioned 3,200 crores to Videocon Group. ICICI Bank sanctioned 6 high-value loans to Videocon Group between 2009 and 2011, according to the CBI. The loans were cleared by a panel headed by the then MD Chanda Kochhar. On the 7th of September 2009, ICICI disbursed 300 crores to the Videocon Group. The Videocon Group transferred 64 crores to Deepak Kochhar's New Power Renewables. Dhoot's investment in New Power was quid pro quo. Chanda Kochhar resigned as ICICI MD in 2018 after the case went public. While Deepak Kochhar was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in the money laundering investigation linked to the same case in 2020, the CBI proceeded to arrest all 3 as the agency alleges that they haven't been cooperating. Chanda Kochhar and Deepak Kochhar have not been cooperating, say the CBI. They are very influential. If let out, they'll influence the witnesses. Custodial interrogation of the Kochhars is necessary to get to the bottom of the case. The CBI says that they need custody of the Kochhars to confront them with Venugopal Dhoot. Other loans sanctioned under the Kochhars' tenure is also under investigation.
CBI court in Mumbai has granted 3 days of custody to Chanda Kochhar, her husband Deepak Kochhar and Venugopal Dhoot of Videocon Group after CBI sought 3 days of custody to confront Kochhars with Venugopal Dhoot to get to the bottom of this case. This is Arun Gunasekar for NDTV.
And the CBI today also reopened an inquiry into Lalu Yadav, the chief of the RJD, Tejasvi Yadav, the deputy chief minister of Bihar, and 2 daughters of Lalu Yadav, all in a case of alleged bribery for land development projects when Lalu Yadav was railway minister. However, the CBI had itself shut this inquiry over a year ago.
As Lalu Yadav recovers from a kidney transplant in Singapore, there is fresh trouble for him and his son, Bihar's Deputy Chief Minister Tejasvi Yadav, his 2 daughters, Chanda and Ragini Yadav. The CBI has reopened the case 1 year after closing it, citing no wrongdoing.
हम लोग का सारा स्टेटमेंट ऑन रिकॉर्ड हम कई बार जाकर के हम ईडी हो सीबीआई हो अपना सवाल का जवाब जो है हम लोग रिकॉर्ड पे दे चुके हैं.
In 2021, CBI's investigating officer cited several irregularities. Senior officers in the agency said there are no strong grounds to register FIR. Sources say CBI has reopened the case based on investigation officer's report. In 2021, the CBI investigating officer cited several irregularities like antedated stamp papers, sham transactions and property transfer in favor of Yadavs at a throwaway price. However, senior officers in the agency said there are no strong grounds to register FIR, so the case was closed. Now sources say the CBI has reopened the case to see whether a case or FIR can be registered based on the report of the investigating officer. The CBI director has the discretion to overrule opinions of other officers. The allegation is that the Lalu Yadav family received a prime property from a reality giant in return for a contract to redevelop, renovate for 2 prime railway properties in Mumbai and Delhi. The CBI claims the 30 crore property was sold for just 5 crores to a firm where Tejasvi Yadav and his 2 sisters were directors.
उनको यहाँ के बारे में जानकारी है ना, तो एक जिला के बारे में जानकारी होगा, बिहार के बारे में.
लालू यादव उनका परिवार जिस प्रकार से सरकारी धन का दुरुपयोग या सत्ता का दुरुपयोग करता रहा, उसी का परिणाम है उनकी पूरी जिंदगी जेल में कट गई जो है. इसलिए देखिए जैसा बोएगा वैसा वो पाएगा. तो बोया पेड़ बबूल का तो आम कहां से हो.
With Arvind Gunasekar, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, let's move to the latest COVID figures. The COVID cases in India in the last 24 hours are 194. And the good news is the COVID deaths in India in the last 24 hours are 0. Also, if you just track India's active cases, so we can see that there's a trend of them actually coming down the last 1 month. 30 days ago, India had 5,395 cases. They fell by just under 1,000 in 20 days, 10 days later. 10 days ago, there were 3,691 and today they're 3,428. So the lowest in a month. So the good news is India's COVID cases coming down, but with cases rising in many other countries, many restrictions being put in. Karnataka today ordering masks for New Year's celebrations and a 1 a.m. deadline for New Year parties, though of course the virus can spread at any time. More importantly, the health minister today did a video conference with doctors across India to ask for their suggestions, and he cautioned against any misinformation.
Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia today called for a meeting and virtually interacted with nearly 100 public health experts and clinicians from across the country on managing COVID. The meeting comes at a time when India has recorded 194 new cases in 24 hours, while the active cases have increased to 3,428, a nearly 3% increase from a month ago. Worried about a potential uptick in cases given the situation in China, the government continues to test arriving international passengers on a random basis. 4 passengers have now tested positive in Bihar's Gaya. They are asymptomatic and have been placed under isolation.
एयरपोर्ट पर जो रैंडम जांच हो रहा है उसी में आरटीपीसीआर में पॉजिटिव मिले हैं, वे सभी के कोई लक्षण नहीं है, सब एसिम्प्टोमेटिक हैं.
The Karnataka government has issued fresh guidelines for New Year celebrations. Wearing masks has been made compulsory. Celebrations can go on only till 1 a.m. Pregnant women, children and elderly citizens, along with people with health issues, must avoid public gatherings.
The proper surveillance is done in the district. Proper guidelines of the state is followed.
In Uttarakhand, the Nainital High Court has ordered entry into courtrooms only after wearing a mask. The centre, for its part, has ordered a mock drill of private and government health facilities on Tuesday to gauge response times if COVID cases in the country surge again. With Shrija MS in Bengaluru, Parimal Kumar in New Delhi, Zara Khan for NDTV.
Well, a quick look at the markets. They gained over 1% today. The Sensex surging by 721 points. The Nifty gaining 207 points. This as PSU banking shares have gained the most as investors seem to be shrugging off COVID fears from the situation in China. The rupee also gained 21 paise. For the first time, India is observing Veer Divas. Prime Minister Modi was at that function today. This day, announced by the government, marks the day of the martyrdom of Guru Gobind Singh's sons at the hands of Aurangzeb. The Prime Minister talked about changing religion by the force of the sword.
जिस दिन कम उम्र के बालकों से औरंगजेब और उसकी सल्तनत की क्या दुश्मनी हो सकती थी, दो निर्दोष बालकों को दीवार में जिंदा चुनवाने जैसी दरिंदगी क्यों की गई? वो इसलिए क्योंकि औरंगजेब और उसके लोग गुरु गोविंद सिंह के बच्चों का धर्म तलवार के दम पर बदलना चाहते थे.
In other news, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has been admitted to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Sources from the hospital have told NDTV that she had symptoms of viral fever and she is recovering well. She should be discharged soon. Just last week, the Finance Minister was in Parliament for the budget, but now unwell and in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. It's bitterly cold today across North India, but someone who doesn't seem to feel it is Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, who today was at the samadhis of former Prime Ministers and that, including that of BJP's Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So there he is in a t-shirt and barefoot, sparking a row also, given the fact that he went to Mr Vajpayee's memorial when the Congress had criticized him just yesterday.
Rahul Gandhi at former Prime Minister and BJP stalwart Atal Bihari Vajpayee's samadhi in a t-shirt, despite Delhi's biting 7 degrees Celsius cold. Mr. Gandhi also visited samadhis of other former Prime Ministers in Delhi as part of his nationwide Bharat Jodo Yatra. But his presence at Mr. Vajpayee's samadhi sparked a row not only within the BJP, but even his own party. In this now deleted tweet, All India Congress Committee coordinator Gaurav Pandey attacked Mr. Vajpayee and the RSS, saying the former Prime Minister played a crucial role in inciting riots.
एक तरफ तो आप नाटक करते हैं, आप श्रद्धांजलि देने सदैव अटल पर जाते हैं, दूसरी तरफ आप ही के नेता ऐसे अपशब्दों का प्रयोग करते हैं। यह दिखाता है कि अंदर से कितना जहर है।
और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि राहुल गांधी जी को अटल जी की समाधि पर देखकर आज के प्रधानमंत्री को अपना राजधर्म जरूर याद आना चाहिए और उनको उसका पालन करना चाहिए जो अटल जी उनको कभी सिखाना चाहते थे। राजनीति बड़े मन से की जाती है और वही काम राहुल गांधी जी ने किया आज।
Mr. Gandhi's choice of attire, a t-shirt in the middle of a cold wave across North India, also drew lots of social media chatter. On Sunday, Mr. Gandhi had responded to questions about his attire even after the yatra entered bitterly cold North India, saying it wasn't a big deal, asking the media to focus instead on how the poor were coping. With Alok Pandey, Nayantara Singh for NDTV.
Barefoot in a t-shirt, but I think he makes a correct point that what about the millions of others who are homeless in this gripping cold, especially as North India today woke up to chilly mornings, new lows and fog all across this whole belt from the hills, of course, Uttarakhand, but also going from Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab and Haryana. Churu in Rajasthan was 0 degrees. We report what it's like for the homeless who have no choice but to shiver in the cold on the streets.
"18-year-old Deepak Singh from UP's Lalitpur, who's partially blind and is undergoing treatment at Delhi's AIIMS, spent Christmas night, which was Delhi's coldest this season, sleeping on the road outside one of India's biggest government hospitals. Deepak has spent the last month in the open outside AIIMS, and there is unlikely to be any change in the coming days as temperatures dip further. The shelter outside the hospital is totally full.
दोनों आंखों से दिखता नहीं और खराब बता रहे हैं और सड़क पर सोना पड़ रहा है। यहाँ पर 1 महीना होने जा रहा है।
1 महीने से आप सड़क पर सो रहे हैं? The shelter home outside the All India Institute of Medical Sciences is run by the Delhi government, and those in charge say they simply cannot accommodate more people.
तो ये तो पहले से फुल हो चुका है मैडम। अब जो आदमी आएगा वो अगले वाले टेंट लगा वहाँ भेज देते हैं।
पिछले कितने दिन से आप देख रहे हैं कि लोग ज्यादा आने शुरू हुए?
वही 2-3 दिन पहले से बहुत ज्यादा आने लगे।
The Delhi government says that it has set up 195 shelter homes across the city to accommodate over 17,000 people this winter. But Delhi's homeless say it is not enough.
हाँ जी, यहाँ सोते हैं, रात में कपड़े भी नहीं है, घर से लाए थे वो कपड़े हैं, हम मिलते जो तो आदमी छीन छान के ले जाते हैं, एक दूसरे को मिल नहीं पाते हैं। हाँ, सड़क पे सो रहे हैं, रात भी यहाँ रुकने नहीं दिया हमें, तो वहाँ पर पड़े थे हम। तुम देख लो जो पड़ा हुआ सामान, खाली उस पे ही सो रहे हैं हम ऐसे, इतना से लोई लेके आए, बोई ओढ़ के सो रहे हैं ना, तो बाकी किसी की खबरी नहीं है।
Even a bed, a thin quilt and a wall made of a sheet of plastic makes these people feel lucky, as many can't even get this and have to sleep on the road every single day in the biting Delhi winter. These people include the elderly, the sick and even kids. While most of us, even in our jackets and our quilts, are finding it difficult and shivering in this Delhi winter, you can only imagine how the homeless are dealing with it literally on the ground. In New Delhi with camera person Ashok Mahale, Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
Donate a blanket, save a life. Also now news coming in of the absolute horrific storm in the United States where 38 people have been killed. The US has ridden out that winter storm. The worst is now over. But what's emerging is the devastation that storm has left behind, including as rescue services are finding people, even in New York, who have died in their cars.
Following Friday's bomb cyclone, wind chills are at minus 40 degrees Celsius in some parts of the US, with reports of frozen bodies being found inside cars in the middle of streets and trapped in houses. Over 36 people have died in this massive winter storm that continues to blast much of the US with brutal winter weather. Parts of western New York have been buried by up to 43 inches of snow, leaving vehicles stuck and thousands of homes and businesses without electricity. New York's governor says the situation is still life-threatening.
We're still in the throes of this very dangerous, life-threatening situation. Just because people might see the sky a little bit today, those storms, the wind, the velocity, the volume, it's coming back.
So travelers' weather woes are likely to continue, with hundreds of domestic and international flight cancellations this morning as well. Since the start of the monstrous Arctic storm, the number of outages has at times exceeded 1 million customers. Winter storm warnings remain in effect in New York for Buffalo, as 10 million people are under freeze alerts across the US even today. As per forecasters, a moderating trend should set in on Tuesday. Parmeshwar Bava for NDTV.
Bomb, cyclone, freeze alerts, but there's still some people who are actually choosing to plunge into freezing waters. That's at London's Hyde Park, the Serpentine Lake, as they went for an annual Christmas Day swim despite the freezing temperatures.